Reminder that if you want to be exceptional, you're going to be different from everyone else. That's what makes you exceptional. You can't fit in and also be exceptional. Both have discomfort. When you fit in, you have internal conflict because you're not being 100% you. When you're exceptional, you have external conflict because everyone sees you as different. Pick one. When your friends start to say, "You've changed," remember it's because they don't know how to say, "You've grown."
There's a famous quote of Marcus Aurelius who said, if you get into a boxing ring with the boxer and he starts pinching your ear and putting his fist in your neck and making you trip and fall, you're not going to go complain and say, "God, how mean you are. You're just an awful person." Because you got in the ring and you're fighting, and you have to accept that that's what happens when you're in the ring. That's what life is. We're in the ring. You can't complain. People are wrestling. They're pushing you down. That's just how it is. You got in the arena, so shut up and don't complain and just play it well.
The illusion is that change takes time. The truth is, change happens the moment you decide. You don't need more time. You need a shift in being. You see, there are infinite versions of you, each living a life shaped by a different choice. Question is, which one will you tune into? One decision, one gentle pivot, and the entire path unfolds differently. Don't underestimate how powerful one moment of clarity can be. The universe responds the second you align. So, if you're wondering what to do, just listen. The version of you who already chose is calling you home.
Part of the reason your life sucks is because your thoughts suck. Marcus Aurelius says that our life is dyed by the color of our thoughts. So if we see only negative, if we only see the worst in people, if we only see what's impossible, if we only see how we screwed up, that's gonna color our perception of reality. Your life is dyed by the color of your thoughts.
Anything you say with the words "I am," your subconscious will then take that as a command. If you say "I am sick," you're actually creating sick in the future. See, a lot of people think when they're describing the present, they're well, I'm sick. But the fact is, you're prescribing the future by describing the present as it is. And most people never get that. So when you're saying negative things to yourself, you're affecting yourself in a physiological way. And so we're constantly programming our subconscious. So this is why the people that live the most effective lives are always acting as if they're in the future and the future's perfect.
If a person would sit down and let their body relax, totally relax, okay, and then start to visualize in their mind, see themselves the way they want to see themselves. See how you'd like to live your life. See yourself living it that way. Okay. Now understand that that's a picture in your mind. Take that picture and describe it. Write it out in the present tense. I am so happy now that I see myself, and write it out. Start to read it, and read it, and read it, and read it every day. Carry it around and keep reading it. The one point that all the great teachers, all down through history, have all agreed on, they've been in complete unanimous agreement on it, we become what we think about. Now, it may be fantasy at first, it might even appear to us as being a lie. But if you read it often enough, you'll start to believe it.
Encourage yourself when no one else is clapping. Validate yourself when no one else is noticing. Challenge yourself when no one else is pushing. Forgive yourself when no one else understands. Believe in yourself before anyone else does. Push yourself without punishing yourself. Because if you don't do it, you'll always be waiting for someone else.
One day I heard somebody say, if you're willing to change your thinking, you can change your life. And I thought, really? Really? Is that possible? So I started to explore. And I came upon a book very early in my career by Francis Scovel Shinn called The Game of Life and How to Play It. It was written in 1926, which was the year I was born. So I started to study more and more and more and change my own life. My own life became much better. I started to get what I call the green lights in the parking places, the little things first. And the more I studied and the more I practiced and the more I was willing to forgive and to appreciate life and to have a lot of gratitude, the more my life changed for the better.
What makes you alive is to grow. And when you grow, you have something to give. And when you give something, it makes your life meaningful. And so I think the people that find a higher meaning, a higher purpose, those are the ones that maximize what they're capable of. And those are the ones that you usually know their names.
There's nothing to gain, nothing to lose in this life. You came with nothing. Whatever the hell is happening, you're on the profit side. Yes or no? Your life on this planet is like a pop-up. On the computer screen, you've seen these pop-ups. You just pop up and pop out. In the meantime, will you rise and shine is the only question, all right? The fundamental awareness that this is mortal, this is here only for a limited amount of time. If this was a normal conscious thing for you, you would put your life to best use, for sure.
Being a human being is not easy as opposed to an animal because we're born and nobody gives us a direction. And it's a very, very difficult process. You wake up in the morning and you don't really know what you can do. You could choose 12 different paths. It can be very confusing and very overwhelming. When you find that sense of purpose, when you find what I call your life's task, everything has a direction, everything has a purpose. Your energy is concentrated. It's not like you're just going down a single narrow pathway. It's not like life becomes boring and it's just about discipline and solving problems. It's actually the most exciting thing that can ever happen to you because you never have that lost feeling. You wake up in the morning and you go, yeah, this is what I need to accomplish. People come at you with all kinds of distractions and boring and irritating things. You're able to cut it out. It's just the most marvelous piece of internal radar that you can have. So I genuinely wish that everybody can find that kind of internal radar.
Did you sometimes know that you're not being authentic? Because I sure did. Well, here's the question. Who inside us knows? Only that authentic self. That's always there. And so I say to people, don't try and look for the authentic self. Just notice when you're not authentic. Just notice when you're not saying no. When there's a no that wants to be said, just see where you're not saying yes. But there's a yes that wants to be said inside you. Notice the impact on you when you don't assert your true self. How do you feel afterwards? So notice the difficulty being authentic and ask yourself, well, what is the belief that I'm carrying that if I'm authentic, then what?
If you've hidden the person that you are for a very, very long time, which I had, you don't know what you're looking for when you're looking inside of yourself. You don't know what your opinion is or what your truth is, right? So…
Because it's biased?
Yeah, because you've layered it. There's tons and there's decades of lies and persona and performance and insecurity and anxiety and compensation all on top of something deep down that's supposed to be you. So if you want to work out who you are, you need to dig through all of that before you can get to anything that feels solid.
There's a part of me that always feels like I'm manipulating somebody. Do you know what I'm talking about?
That's not a feeling.
So what is it? It's a thought?
It's a belief.
Like even if I'm just doing something nice, there's a part of me that's like, oh, you're…
Yeah, you think you're fake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called the imposter syndrome.
Okay.
And there's a reason why you have it. It has to do with the fact that you couldn't be real as a kid. In some ways, you had to pretend. And it's really hard to let go of that sense that I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
It's what you grew up with. So you could be kind to that part of yourself. Because it's not a feeling, it's a belief. And the beliefs can be… You don't argue with feelings, but beliefs you can challenge.
What we present is the compensation. You might see someone who looks beautiful and perfect and they're wearing the right En Vogue outfit for whatever season it is and da-da-da, and their skin's glowing today. But if the energy by which they are presenting this ambassador of themselves is still coming from this flawed view of themselves, that's ultimately what gets recognized. It might get them a few dates, it might even get them married, but check back in 6, 12, 18 months, and it's like, okay, the relationship's not working. Well, no, because you are in a relationship with your facade, not with true self.
Neediness occurs when you place a higher priority on what others think of you than what you think of yourself. Anytime that you alter your words or behavior to fit someone else's needs rather than your own, that's needy. Anytime you lie about your interests or your hobbies or your background, that's needy. Anytime that you pursue a goal to impress others rather than fulfill yourself, that's needy. Whereas most people focus on what behavior is attractive or unattractive, what determines neediness and therefore attractiveness is the why behind your behavior. You can say the coolest thing or do what everyone else does, but if you do it for the wrong reason, it will come off as needy and desperate and turn people off.
You are a much more interesting person than you give credit for, because you're trying to act, you're trying to fit into the group and be what other people want you to be. Yeah. And, we all want the power to change ourselves, right? That's why self-help books do so well. Yeah. But you can't begin to change yourself in any meaningful way until you confront who you really are. If you go out in public and you don't look in a mirror, your hair you're going to look really weird, right? You can't begin to improve your looks until you look in the mirror. You can't begin to change yourself until you look into that mirror of who you really are. All that other stuff that you don't want to confront.
If you want to know something about yourself, sit on your bed one night and say to yourself, you got to mean this, you got to be desperate. This is no game, this. My life is not everything I want it to be, and perhaps it's not everything that I need it to be. And by need, I mean my life is so unbearable that the suffering that's attendant upon that is make me nihilistic, cynical, bitter, resentful, unable to have a good relationship, prone to punish people for their virtues because of my jealousy, driving the proclivity to see evil everywhere except within my own heart. These are problems, man. You ask yourself, you sit on the bed and say, okay, man, I'm ready to learn something. What's one thing I'm doing wrong that I know I'm doing wrong, that I could fix, that I would fix? It's you meditate on that, you'll get an answer. And it won't be one you want, but it'll be the necessary one. We need to separate out the distinction between fantasy and delusion. You do have a fantasy about the future. You have to, because like you said, it's not structured. So you have to provisionally map the future. That's what a plan is.
Positive
That's
goal.
what a strategy is. Yeah. Right. But that doesn't make it a delusion. It becomes a delusion when the map bears no relationship to the underlying territory. So if you have a strategy for the future, maybe let's say that your strategy for the future, just for the sake of argument, is that you have 5 million YouTube subscribers in 3 years. Well, you have no evidence of the strict sort that that's how it's going to be, because anything could happen between now and 3 years from now, let's say. But there's no reason to call that a delusion. It's one hypothetically possible path of potential. And then you can make the sacrifices necessary to bring that about. So even though it's a fantasy, because it maps something that isn't there, it's not a delusion. It's a delusion when you're ignoring elements of your own experience that would inform your fantasy more effectively. You're ignoring them so that you can live in a positive representation of the future without having to pay the appropriate price for it.
The world will constantly push you to perform success. But if there's one message I want you to walk away with today, it's this: you have to disappear. When I say disappear, stop announcing every move and start building something that speaks for itself. Disappearing means doing the work. It means doing the work in the dark. It means building in private what you don't need to prove in public. It means doing the work when no one's watching. You stop worrying about what people think and start valuing what you believe. Because a life that looks good or sounds good is nothing compared to a life that feels good.
The more you think, the less you do. The less you do, the worse you feel. The worse you feel, the more you think. The less you do, the worse you feel. Break that cycle. Do something. Doesn't have to be good, doesn't have to be right. Just do something.
The pursuit of the authentic self. You're in a space in your life and you have aspirations to be this other person, or you have a broader imagination of what your life could be like, but you don't know how to get from here to there. I think it's about really connecting with the truth of who you are and living as integrous with that as possible. And when you do that, I think the universe sees that and pays attention, and little sort of bricks on the path are put in front of you to gently nudge you in one direction or the other. And if you are in a place where you have the presence of mind, the awareness to see that and heed that, then that process compounds upon itself. The more you honor that, the more likely you are to find evidence in the world to support that. And your only true north is that voice within yourself that you either choose to honor or you repress.
I will do good. No matter what. No matter what happens to me. I will do good. No matter what happens to me. It's absolute rejection of the idea of being a victim. It's like, no matter how much suffering comes my way, no matter how much undeserved suffering comes my way, undeserved and unjust, let's say, in spite of my innocence, I will not lose faith and I will do good. Now,
Here's all you have to do. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Once I understood that philosophy, it totally changed my life. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. If you work hard on your job, you can make a living, which is fantastic. If you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune, which is super fantastic. Success is something you attract by becoming an attractive person. Success is not something you pursue. Success is something you attract by the person you become, by becoming an attractive person.
Never be satisfied with yourself. Always know that as you invest the effort and time on you, that's the greatest ability that human beings have above animals. See, a dog can't be anything but a dog. Tree can't be anything but a tree. Human being, you've got unlimited potential. You can put effort on you, and by concentrating on you and developing you, you can transform your life wherever you are right now. So you want to work on yourself.
My dreams are first every day, then my wife, then my kids. I could take care of my wife and my kids now, would you agree? I abandon this. This is the fuel for who I am. I abandon this dream, and then I can't take care of them. And then I'm gonna tell them what? It's all right that you didn't win. No, it's not all right if you don't win. You need to win. How many of you need to win more? Okay? If you don't control your environment, folks, somebody else is going to control your environment. You guys that run teams and run organizations, if you do not control your environment, someone else will control your environment. You are being controlled in your environment right now. If you don't control your environment, it starts with me. When I was 45 years old, I'm like, I'm going to control my environment. I'm going to take every penny I have, all the energy I have, all the resources I have, and I'm going to improve me. If I got to go broke in the process, because I'm already broke. Look, if you're not fulfilled if you're not reaching your full potential every day, you're broke right now.
If you find your passion, you're going to have this tremendous energy. It's sustainable energy. But momentum requires you always do the next thing to keep the momentum going.
If you believe in what you're doing, that's fuel. It adds more fuel to your fire. You gotta keep going, you gotta keep pushing through, you gotta keep persevering. Because at the end of the day, when you do, and you do, and you do more, you will be amazed at how the universe conspires to help you get to the place that you wanted to get to. So believe in you, block out the shade, and let your sun shine on through. Because it's on you to be you.
And the reason you get yourself in a passionate place is so that you change your life, and the only thing that changes your life is making a decision. So while you're in this passionate state, that's where you make decisions. The only way that commitment and the energy and the momentum continues is if you take immediate, massive what, my friend? Massive action is the cure-all. Massive action is the cure-all.
That's how you develop yourself. That's how you begin to appreciate what you get. When you're working on a dream, at some point in time, a transition takes place. And the transition is what you are becoming in pursuit of the dream. Because even if you don't get the dream, you become such a strong and powerful person. It will so change your life, you can look at something else and say, well, I think I'll go do this then. Because you have now developed yourself in such confidence and such competence in how to deal in the arena of life that you can move into another area and not miss a beat. Once you begin to discover who you are, then you really realize how you have been given authority and dominion over everything on the face of the earth, including all the dimensions of your life. But you can only do that through the struggle of life. And most people avoid the struggle. Most people go through life avoiding pain. And when you go through life like that, something in you dies. Something in you that you never activate is lying dormant in there, that you never get a chance to call on because you have not challenged yourself. Somebody said the land of familiarity belongs to the dead. That most people like to feel like they're a king in the area of their comfort zone. They only want to do those things that they know how to do well. Osborne said, unless you attempt to do something beyond that which you've already mastered, you will never grow. So if you want to begin to grow, you've got to put something out here that you can't reach easily, that has got to make you stretch, got to make you jump for it, got to make you get back a little bit and dig in so that you can take a leap for it. And maybe you jump up there and you miss it and you skin your knees and you come back again and you bust your lip next time. But you keep on, and through that process, you learn how to leap higher. You start challenging yourself to dig deeper, and then you discover some things about you that you don't know right now, some talents that you have in you that you didn't know that you can do. If you want to begin to make your stuff happen for you, I think that it's very important that you start trusting yourself. Listen to yourself. Listen to that still small voice within you. Don't try and make everything logical. There's some things about life that defies logic, that you just can't explain how the outcome is going to be. I think that's why Paul said you've got to learn how to walk by faith and not by sight. That once you begin to trust yourself and your ideas and your instincts, life takes on a whole new meaning, because now I want you to do that feeling that you are led. Just feel, I am led. Ladies and gentlemen, don't give your power away. You don't need anybody to approve your dream. It was given to you. If they can't see it, it's because it wasn't given to them. It was given to you. Hold it, nourish it, cultivate it, work on it. It's yours. It's your baby. Work on it until it comes into fruition. I gave away my power and I said, I'm not going to do that no more. Here's something else for those who make it today. Do what you know is right. Treat people like you want to be treated. Don't try and take any shortcuts. Don't try and cheat. Pay your dues up front. I believe, ladies and gentlemen, what goes around comes around. You can pay now or you will pay double later. So do the right thing. There might be a tendency sometimes, because of the negative part of our consciousness and our own programming, for us to want to say, well, I just do it this time. It won't matter. Won't nobody know. Ladies and gentlemen, everything matters. And you know you're somebody. You know I'd rather lose out on my dream doing the right thing than to cheat trying to make a shortcut to get to my goal. I want to be able to look myself in the mirror. And that's what you want to do. There's no saying, judge a man not by what he does, but by that he doesn't have to do. And to judge the true quality of a man is what do you do when nobody's looking. See, there's some good out there for you in the universe that has your name on it. And nobody can get your good. It has your name on it. They can't take your stuff. It's your stuff. So when you know that whatever you're seeking, it's also seeking you. You don't worry. You don't run scared. You don't think somebody's going to take it from you. You listen to your inner voice and you always take the high road. There will be the tendency, the natural inclination to take the low road. You must resist that. Repeat after me, please. I will always take the high road and do the right thing no matter what.
Take action. Not hasty if it isn't required, but don't lose much time. Here's the time to act. When the idea is hot and the emotion is strong. That's the time to act. Now here's what's important about disciplines. All disciplines affect each other. In fact, here's a good philosophical phrase. Everything affects everything else. Nothing stands alone. Don't be naive in saying, well, this doesn't matter. I'm telling you, everything matters. There are some things that matter more than others, but there isn't anything that doesn't matter. Key to take home. Every letdown affects the rest of your performance. Every letdown affects the rest. All disciplines affect each other. Every lack affects the rest. Every new affects the rest. The key is to diminish the lack and set up the new. And you've started a whole new life process. Also, one more thought on discipline. Here's the greatest value of discipline. Self-worth, self-esteem. People are teaching self-esteem these days, but they don't connect it to disciplines. The least lack of discipline, and it starts to erode our psyche. One of the greatest temptations is to just ease up a little bit, right? The slightest lack of doing your best, the least neglect. Neglect starts as an infection, and if you don't take care of it, it becomes a disease, and one neglect leads to another. Change. You're looking at one of the faces. I used to belong to the 90% who couldn't be bothered even if it was easy.
One of the things I say when people who are stress requires two things, I believe. First is a belief that something's going to happen, and second, that when it happens, it's going to be awful. So attack both of those. The first, give yourself 3-5 reasons why it won't happen. And you immediately feel better because you went from single-mindedly, this thing is going to happen, to, maybe it won't. But the more fun part, fun for me, but not for most people, is to then say, okay, let's assume it does happen. How is that actually an advantage? And when you do that, then you're in a position where it might happen, it might not happen. Either way, I'm going to be fine. And so then you can get on with just being.
So we fall into a state of being not wanted and feeling sorry for ourselves. That's only a state. You don't have to accept it. You're going to a restaurant, you don't say, bring me what the chef wants to get rid of tonight. Bring me a menu.
No one triggers you. You trigger you. When you start to realize nothing is being done to you, you're the one doing it all. That's when you start to liberate yourself. Anyone on the outside who's a trigger is only a trigger you're using. You could say, how I trigger myself is I see these people and I picture, or I say to myself, or I do this in my body, because that's how it really happens. There's no one to blame. Someone else will go by and have the same experience and not be triggered. So you're doing it. But we somehow forgot we're the one in charge here. And then you become enslaved to some pattern instead of waking up to your own true consciousness. No one escapes extreme stress. The only question is, do you use stress or let stress use you? Do you create more stress by what you do in your own head? Or do you de-stress and move forward and use it as rocket fuel to make your life greater?
Mentally strong people don't do nice things for people who don't treat them with respect. Mentally strong people don't believe every stupid thing they think. Mentally strong people know what they want. Relationships, work, money, physical, emotional, spiritual health. Mentally strong people always ask themselves this one question: does it fit? Does my behavior fit the goals I have for my life?
Repeated thoughts wear a kind of psychic groove in the mind. A groove that gets deeper with every repetition. You see what that means? When you think you can't, and you tell yourself you can't, and you tell other people that you can't, you've made a groove in your mind, psychically. And every time you do that, the groove becomes deeper until ultimately you can't. That is the way it goes.
Choose to believe that it is easy to change a thought or a pattern. What we choose to believe becomes true for us. If you want to believe that change is hard or difficult, then it will be so for you. But that was the old victim stance, and we're moving away from that belief. As you learn to control your mind, you become powerful. In all of life, the only thing we have control over is our current thought. The past is over and done and cannot be changed, except for the way we choose to look at it. The future is being created right now by the thoughts we are choosing to think. Let's choose thoughts that make our future fun and joyful and loving and prosperous and healthy.
Do you know the only energy those brain cells can take on is the same energy it's sending off? The only energy those brain cells can take on is a like energy to that which you're sending off. You focus on the negatives in another person, what kind of energy do you think you're taking on? What kind of a vibration do you think you're in? It might be a wise idea to focus on the good aspects of even the worst situation.
Whatever you want to do, believe it, believe it, believe it, even if you don't believe. Play the game of belief. We can condense time. We can pull it to ourselves. It's not about the future. Oh, I'm going to do something next year. It doesn't exist. Tomorrow doesn't exist. Next hour does not exist. It's all potential. But what we can do is drag the time into the present, now, into the solar plexus. Act as if you believe. That is power. And it will happen. Believe you me, it's worked in my life, it will work in yours. So never give up. Believe, believe, believe. I don't care if you're atheist or agnostic or anything. Believe, believe, believe.
We can only receive when we are up to speed with what we're asking. You can't be a vibrational mismatch. You just have to be in the receiving mode, like the game that we are playing, where you are finding something that you would like to see, and then the universe is delivering it. When you're doing something like that, it softens your resistance on a myriad of subjects and often puts you in the place where other things that you have been resisting begin to flow into your experience.
Nobody changes until they change their energy. When you change your energy, you change your life. It's the way it is. When you stop using your enemy to reaffirm your addiction to hatred, when you stop using your best friend to reaffirm your addiction to suffering, when you stop using your Facebook to reaffirm your addiction to insecurity, when you stop that whole process. And you start going inward, and you're no longer relying on those outer things to create those emotions, and you start creating those inner emotional states. You start changing your energy. Now, whatever is no longer a vibrational match between you and that past, present reality is going to fall away.
Right.
They're just going to spiral out because you're no longer putting your attention on them. In other words, the stronger the emotion you feel with some problem in your life, the more you give it your attention. Where you place your attention is where you place your energy. You're giving your power away, your life force, your energy to heal to that person or that problem. Lower the volumes of that emotion, you take your attention off that person, you're calling energy back to you. You have to recondition your body into believing that that future event is happening to you now, because your body, as the unconscious mind, does not know the difference between an actual experience that produces an emotion that you fabricate by thought alone. And you have to change the circuitry in your brain neurologically to look like the event has happened. Then you have to emotionally condition your body into believing that future event is already done. And when your thoughts and feelings are aligned, when your mind and body are working together, you're headed for a new destiny.
Whatever it is that you would like to attract or manifest into your life, so if it's a job that you want, if it's a relationship that you want, if it's a healing that you want, if it's abundance that you want to attract into your life, you must be able to get to this place in your life where you don't use the evidence of your senses, what your eyes tell you, what your ears tell you, what your stomach tells you, what you see written down, what the internet tells you. You want to be able to be in a place where you are living from the end as if what you would like to manifest is already there. To make a future dream a present fact, you must assume the feeling of that wish as already being fulfilled.
Here's how the system works. Everything you could ever ask for, you could ever have now, or ever ask for in the future, you already have right now. You already have all of it. You simply are not experiencing it. Because everything that has ever happened is happening now, and ever will happen is happening right now. And so it is for you merely to reach into the sea of infinite possibilities and call forth the reality you choose now to experience. And you do this through three devices mainly: thought, word, and action. That is, what you say, what you think or believe, and of course what you do.
This is how greatness is created, when you show up to create when you don't feel like it. When you sit with yourself and not allow your mind to go to the past and all the problems and all the things, and instruct your mind to go to that vision of the future, that's a victory. That is the overcoming process. We discovered that when you're sitting with yourself and you go past the point where you would normally stop because of your disbelief, you go past that point, that's when the brain changes the most. That's when you're stepping into the unknown. That is the overcoming process that allows you to become anything, abundant or healthy or whatever it is that people want.
Every single morning, without fail, you rewrite your major goals. After you've done your reading, you rewrite your major goals. Now, this whole process, by the way, can take about 2 minutes, maybe 5. You may get to the point, as I do, where you'll write 10, 20, 30, sometimes even an hour. But you just rewrite your major goals as positive, present tense, personal affirmations. In other words, your goals could be: I earn X number of dollars per month. I weigh X number of pounds. I am outstanding in my field. I do this. I achieve. I accomplish. I choose, and so on. Whatever you want to be, have, or do, you just write it out in a series of affirmations, one at a time. Now, you'll find that as you write your goals over and over again, an interesting thing will happen, is that your more important goals will tend to be rewritten first, and they'll tend to become clarified and to become sharper and more distinct. And every single time you rewrite your major goals, you are driving them, you are impressing them deeper into the subconscious, which leads to the guarantee that they will be expressed in your reality. Every time you rewrite your major goals, you're programming them into your subconscious, and you're setting them as a directional mechanism, the same way you would set the directional mechanism on a guided missile, so that it will move you unerringly in the direction of accomplishment.
So if you want to prosper and be successful in life, first of all, reject the idea of poverty. Reject all negative self-definitions. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. The Bible says, let the weak say, I am strong. Why? Because whatever you say you are, you will become that. Whatever you say you are, you will remain that. It follows that if you want to be successful and prosperous, let the poor say what? I am prosperous. I am successful.
How does one convince themselves that what they're doing and working on is worth it?
The question of worth it is reliant on an outcome. We don't make these things for an outcome. It's not the mindset to make something great. The outcome happens. You're making the best thing you can make. It's a devotional practice. Whatever happens after that happens. And that part that happens after it is completely out of your control. Putting any energy into that part that's out of your control is a waste of time.
My dear, make your decision. Even if you're wrong, make a decision. But to be undecided, so that you will not make a mistake. Well, that story, it's in the Revelation. Would that you were hot or cold. But because you're neither hot nor cold, and that you are lukewarm, I spew you out.
If God can't trust your decisions, He won't trust you with elevation. Some men don't have a timing problem. They have a self-control problem. You want more money, but you still move like someone with nothing to lose. You want leadership, but you still make decisions based on your feelings. God doesn't bless confusion, bro. He blesses conviction. Yo, write this down. Every blessing that you're calling for is going to cost you something that you don't want to let go.
Oh, hold on. Say it a little louder for the person in the back, please.
At least give your best self the same amount of time to build your life that you gave your worst self the time to destroy your life, and then we can talk.
How much do you really want it? And it's going to continue like this until you will ultimately come to the point, and it's going to come quickly, I do think, where you realize for yourself that it's an infinite direction of possibilities. They will never run out, but you will still have to figure out what is it that you really want from your life.
People will say, well, I want to have a mansion, and I would like to have a private jet, and I would like to have a beautiful partner, or I'd like to have a trophy.
Valid, absolutely understandable as well. But I do think that this universe is going to let you realize your lesson in the way how you need it. Yeah, you're going to have your mansion, you're going to have your beautiful wife, you're going to have it all. There is something that's going to put you back on track. There is something that's going to put you back on track, telling you you need to readjust. It is why? Because it has always been like this. We come with nothing. We go with nothing. What does it mean? This universe is going to make sure that you're going to go with nothing, which means at some point before it's time for you to go, you will be faced with the fact of learning the necessity of letting go of what you have attained in this lifetime. And if you have not learned and have not understood that this is going to come, then I think it's a very, very hard awakening. It's a very painful awakening to realize, to have this realization that you have spent 70 years, 80 years following your goal, and now there is no other choice. You have to let go. It's not my invention. It's just my observation.
Here's the thing about life.
None of us wake up and say, today is the day I destroy my life. What we do is we kind of check out because it feels overwhelming, or we check out because we're afraid, or we check out because we start listening to self-doubt, and then we make these teeny tiny decisions all day long. And we don't even realize it. Decision to not get up on time, a decision to not eat the right thing, a decision to snap at your kids, a decision to not speak at a meeting, a decision to not look for a job, a decision to not deal with your finances, a decision to not call your parents, like whatever it is. All day long, these tiny decisions that take you so far off track.
So by nature's understanding, you're only supposed to use the stress system for very short intervals of time because it interferes with the normal functions. And then you look at today's world and we realize 24/7, 365 stress hormones are being released into the system. We read the newspapers, we watch the news, we're concerned about the world and its unfolding. So what was supposed to be only used for a very short time has now become chronic. And the chronic release of stress hormones has resulted in an elevation of the amount of disease and sickness that our planet is experiencing right now. So the significance is we must recover. And then to recover, it says we must get out of the fear that we live in because fear kills.
You can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it. In order to work at solving these things called problems in your life, you have to change your mind. It is your mind where they live. It is your mind that created them. There is where you experience them. They're all illusions. You must change your mind. Literally rewrite your agreement with reality. One of the things I had said earlier is that one of the most difficult things to do in the world is to admit that you were wrong. Admitting that you were wrong is nothing more than saying, I have been making choices with my mind that have created things in my life that are not working. And I no longer intend to continue making those choices. I was wrong. You don't have to make a declaration of it. You don't have to go out and feel guilty about it. You just simply say, it didn't work. The relationship that I was in before, I behaved in these ways. I didn't realize that it wasn't working for me. Now I do, and this is where I choose to be now.
Old ways won't open new doors. How do you think you can change by doing the same thing, continuing on the same path, taking no risks, no twists, no turns? Nothing's going to change if you're not willing to change. Stop being lazy. Get up and become something more than the familiar route you've been walking for years. Close your eyes and take the risk. Step off the path and walk into the jungle. That's where success roams, waiting to be grasped. The potential sitting, dying to be used. This is where you are willing to move away from convention, where you can write your own rules. Take a deep breath. Hold out your hand. Look at it. Hold it out and turn the handle. Open the door, a new door, a door you've never seen before. So what are you going to do? How are you going to change? Who has the power? You have the potential to become someone worth living for, someone better than success. Satisfaction that you try, that you put in the time, put in the work, and make it. Make the decision now. Become your decision. Rise above the fears. Take the risk.
Many people have had difficult experiences growing up. They have fallen onto hard times and become associated with the wrong people. They have behaved in ways that were illegal or socially unacceptable. Sometimes they have even been convicted and sent to prison for their crimes. But at a certain point in life, they decided to change. They thought seriously about the kind of person that they wanted to be known as and thought of in the future. They decided to change their lives by changing the values that they lived by. By making these decisions and sticking to them, they change their lives. And what others have done, you can do as well. Remember, it doesn't matter where you're coming from. All that really matters is where you're going. If you were an outstanding person in every respect, how would you behave toward others? What sort of impression would you leave on others after you had met them and spoken with them? Imagine you could be a completely excellent person. How would you be different from today? In psychology, your level of self-esteem determines your level of happiness. Self-esteem is defined as how much you like yourself. Your self-esteem, in turn, is determined by your self-image. This is the way you see yourself and think about yourself in your day. Interactions with others. Your self-image is shaped by your self-ideal. Your self-ideal is made up of the virtues, values, goals, hopes, dreams, and aspirations that you have for yourself sometime in the future. Here is what psychologists have discovered. The more your behavior in the moment is consistent with what you feel your ideal behavior should be, the more you like and respect yourself, and the happier you are. On the other hand, whenever you behave in a way that is inconsistent with your ideal of your very best behavior, you experience a negative self-image. You feel yourself to be performing below your best, below what you truly aspire to. As a result, your self-esteem and your level of happiness decrease. The moment that you begin walking, talking, and behaving in ways that are consistent with your highest ideals, your self-image improves, your self-esteem increases, and you feel happier about yourself and your world. For example, whenever you are complimented or praised by another person, or given a prize or an award for accomplishment, your self-esteem goes up, sometimes dramatically. You feel happy about yourself. You feel that your whole life is in harmony and that you are living congruent with your highest ideals. You feel successful and valuable. Your aim should be to deliberately and systematically create the circumstances that raise your circumstances, that raise yourself. Esteem in everything you do. You should live your life as if you were already the outstanding person that you intend to be sometime in the future. Remember, you become what you think about most of the time. Successful, happy people think about their values and how they can live and practice those values in every part of their lives, every single day. The big payoff is that the more you live your life consistent with your values, the happier, healthier, more positive, and energetic you will be.
If you're smart, you better learn to be humble, and you better learn to be grateful for the fact that you've been gifted, and you better take that on as a serious responsibility, like a serious moral responsibility. Because if you don't, it will work against you. If you're super smart and your intellect is working against you, you are in serious trouble.
Einstein would take walks and then occasionally just stop and let his mind continue in thinking while he stopped his body. And when you start looking back through history of science, history of music, etc., you'll find that there are these hyper-creative, hyper-productive people that have a practice of making their body completely still and their mind very active. Not meditation, where you're trying to just focus on your breathing, but they're actually actively thinking while keeping their body very still. Now, I find that fascinating. I also find it fascinating that some people, for instance, myself, if I take a long run, which I do every Sunday, I make it a point to run for 60 to 90 minutes every Sunday. Not fast, but I just go. Inevitably, during those runs, I come up with some of my best ideas. It puts my brain into a state where things geyser up from my unconscious mind. And so that state of mind is one in which the body is very active and I'm not trying to think about anything. So you have these two inverse states. One is body still, mind active. The other is body active, mind kind of free running.
real self-worth comes from doing hard things. We keep talking about self-love. We keep talking about loving yourself, believing in yourself. That happens naturally when you go through something difficult.
You spent decades studying your mind and the human mind on how it functions in good environments, bad environments, stressful environments, patient environment. You studied all because you had to put all this together to create the mind to become successful.
Pain is energy, raw, chaotic, unprocessed. Alchemists didn't turn metal into gold, they turned emotion into wisdom. Master that and nothing can break you again.
You must build belief. You must build confidence. It can't be like, hey, I'm gonna go knock that shit out. You gotta look over here and say, I can knock that shit out. It's belief, and it's built on what you put in to yourself.
If I can instill one piece of advice into all human beings, it would simply be to believe in yourself beyond, without a doubt. Believe in yourself, and don't rely on anybody to believe in you. Don't rely on anybody to push you or make you better. Believe in yourself and only yourself, and allow that human being to make you a better person.
It's unbelievable how little genuine encouragement many people need and how they had none. No one ever said to them and meant it. It's not okay for you to be a weak loser. It's not okay. And the reason it's not okay is because you could be way more than that. And it's a crime, an ethical crime, for you to allow all that necessary potential to go to waste. It hurts you, it hurts your family, it hurts the world. Really, really, it does. And people think, oh, okay, I get it. What could you do to improve yourself? Well, let's step one step backwards. The first question might be, why should you even bother improving yourself? And I think the answer to that is something like, so you don't suffer any more stupidly than you have to. And maybe so others don't have to either. It's something like that. Like there's a real injunction at the bottom of it. It's not some casual self-help doctrine. It's that if you don't organize yourself properly, you'll pay for it, and in a big way, and so will the people around you. Now, and you could say, well, I don't care about that, but that's actually not true. You actually do care about that, because if you're in pain, you will care about it. And so you do care about it, even if it's just that negative way, It's very rare that you can find someone who's in excruciating pain who would ever say, well, it would be no better if I was out of this. Sort of pain is one of those things that brings the idea that it would be better if it didn't exist along with it. It's incontrovertible. So you get your act together so that there isn't any more stupid pain around you than necessary. Well, so then the question might be, well, how would you go about getting your act together? And the answer to that, and this is a phenomenological idea too, it's something like, look around for something that bothers you and see if you can fix it. If you want to know something about yourself, sit on your bed one night and say, my life is not everything I want it to be, and perhaps it's not everything that I need it to be. What's one thing I'm doing wrong, that I know I'm doing wrong, that I could fix, that I would fix? It's like, you meditate on that, you'll get an answer. And it won't be one you want, but it'll be the necessary one.
If you want to be wealthy and happy the rest of your life, just learn this lesson well. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. I have found in my experience that income does not far exceed personal development. Now, sometimes income takes a lucky jump, but sure enough, unless you grow out where it is, it'll usually come back where you are. Life has strange ways. If somebody hands you $1 million, best you become a millionaire quickly, so you get to keep the money. Otherwise, sure enough, it'll disappear. Somebody once said, if you took all the money in the world, divided it up equally among everybody, it would soon all be back in the same pockets. Success is something you attract, not something you pursue. So instead of going after it, you work on yourself. Personal development. Because true happiness is not contained in what you get. Happiness is contained in what you become.
And that's why the Bible goes after laziness as a sin, because laziness is essentially saying, God, you have given me nothing of significance and importance. Therefore, I can fritter my life away being lazy, not developing my physical talents or my intellectual talents or my spiritual talents, because guess what? It really doesn't matter. And God says, no, you matter. I've given you talents. Now they're dormant, a lot of them, so you got to develop them, which means you got to get up off your backside cliff and you got to start working. You got to develop your body, you got to develop your mind, and you got to develop a relationship with me.
You learn things painfully. When you learn something painfully, a part of you has to die. That's the pain. You know, when a dream is shattered, for example, a huge part of you that constituted that dream, maybe even the biological substrate of that dream, has to be stripped away and burned. Life is a constant process of death and rebirth. And to participate in that fully is to allow yourself to be redeemed by it. And so the good is that process of death and rebirth, voluntarily undertaken. It's like you're not as good as you could be, so you let that part of you die. And if someone comes along and says, you know, there's some dead wood here, man, it needs to be burned off. You think, well, that stuff's still a bit alive. When that burns, it's gonna hurt. It's like, yeah, well, no kidding. But maybe the thing that emerges in its place is something better. And I think this is the secret of human beings. This is what we're like.
We all sorely complain of the shortness of time, and yet have much more than we know what to do with. Our lives are either spent in doing nothing at all, or in doing nothing to the purpose, or in doing nothing that we ought to do.
If you set out and you say you're going to do something, do yourself a favor and don't lie to yourself. Because that is the worst thing that an individual can ever do. You think you lying to your peers. You think you lying to your mother. You think you lying to your teacher. You think you lying to your coach. At the end of the day, when you look in the mirror, you lying to you. In 10 years from now, nobody can do anything for you. That's going to be the life that you created, not anybody else. You make your bed, you got to lay in it.
I got to commit my very being to this thing. I gotta breathe it. I gotta eat it. I gotta sleep it. And until you get there, you'll never be successful in life. But once you get there, I guarantee you, the world is yours. So work hard and you can have whatever it is you want.
There's never an easy time to make a hard decision. Never. But what you have to be able to do is pull the trigger, take action. The main differentiation between the high-performance people is they believe in the extraordinary.
But how do you get out of your head and stop thinking about what you need to do and actually do it?
Working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something we love is called passion. All you need to do is have the will and the desire to want to understand what drives and inspires you.
The reality of life is that we will all hear more no's than we hear yeses. And we will fail a lot, and I mean a whole lot. But what I ask of you today is to not take no for an answer. Don't be afraid of no's. Be afraid of the possibility of a yes that you have prematurely destroyed because you decided to quit before the clock strikes 12.
The universe responds to the man or woman that refuses to be denied, because that is your commitment. That dream that you have of controlling your destiny, that is yours. That's available to you. But you've got to be willing to stand there and face disappointment, not have support, be lonely, doubt yourself sometimes, be rejected again and again and again, become bankrupt if necessary, again and again and again, and refuse to turn around until life gives it up.
What do you pay attention to most? What your right hemisphere signals as anomalous. It attracts your attention. It's like, this isn't going quite right. I'm not looking at that. Wrong. That's what you look at. That's what you look at. What's not going right. Because that's the terrible monster that might eat you, but it's also the place you get all the information. That's why it's useful to have discussions with your enemies. Because they will tell you things you do not know. And that's such a great thing, because if you don't know them, well, you're not very smart, are you? You know, there may be a time when you go somewhere that's the thing you need to know. And maybe your enemy will tell you why you're such a fool, you know, and a bunch of other things that aren't true too. But even one thing that's accurate, it's like, yeah, thanks very much, man. Maybe I'll do some work on that, and I won't have to carry that forward. So, and then that's part of the reason, again, why the terrible predator, it's always the terrible predator that has the goal. It's like, it's the person who delivers the message you do not want to hear. So it's rough, but it doesn't matter. Life is rough.
I've heard it all in my career. All the bullshit, the excuses and the lies people tell themselves. They say things like, I'll start Monday. It's not my fault. It's not fair. I'm too damn tired. Or my personal favorite, I don't have enough time.
Average people, they just go through life as if it's something to get through. This is depressing, as if death is a goal. Your clock is ticking. You don't have time to get through it.
But then you wake up every day complaining about you not being where you want to be at in your life. At least if you're going to sleep, do some tossing and turning. So I know something is uncomfortable. Because all the growth happens in the uncomfort zone. When you're comfortable, you can't grow.
You have to start tapping into your inner villain. You see, the greatest enemy is not out there. The greatest enemy is inside of yourself.
I don't know what the limits are. It's like if you were the best person you could be, you know, truly, if you decided to live by truth and to aim at the good, and you really did that, you put your whole heart and soul into it, like that's what you were staking your life on, because you're staking your life on something. Who the hell could you be?
If you're scared of something, learn about it. Figure it out to overcome it. We have hard times. We hit turbulence. We fail. We fall on our ass. We have to sit there and think about that one issue. And it's all we think about. And we forget to fly the plane. The plane is us. We forget to focus on everything in life. Our habits, our goals, our destination. We end up failing. So stay hard.
I'm letting you know that you got to make the opportunity happen. You got to be fired up. You got to be hungry for it. You got to have the desire to push yourself.
Focus on yourself. Don't worry about what other individuals are doing. They are not lucky. Get that idea out of your head. The only one that can make the change is you and yourself alone. Start with yourself. Work on yourself. Make the sacrifices that you need to make. Take the time that you have and see how important it is every single second of the day. You control what you do. Nobody else does that. You have to get out there and grind.
Somebody right now is doing the work of failing and getting up and getting better and pushing themselves and triggering that glorious adaptation response that makes humans the apex predator. Someone right now.
There's not one person that you look up to, not one, that gets up every day and says, this is fucking amazing. I can't wait to do this. No matter what they tell you on social media, they still have bad days. They still have days where they want to do something else. The difference is they don't, because they're committed. When you think about where you are and where you're going and what it is you're trying to accomplish, there's only two ways you can be. You can be the person who learns a little bit, who does a little bit, and then who decides that this really isn't for them and moves on to something else and repeats that cycle over and over and over again. Or you could be the person who's committed. You could be the person who says, this is going to fucking work no matter what happens. No matter how frustrated I get, no matter how angry I get, no matter what, I'm fucking doing this. Those are the people that are going to win.
Our mind wants to protect us. The mind, it has a tactical advantage over us. It knows our deepest, darkest fears or insecurities. It knows where we start to feel, we start getting that doubt.
What is your compassion for the world? Like, what problem do you want to solve? People always say, there's so many things I could do. There's so many things. I'm like, my question is not what causes you the greatest joy. Sometimes my question is, what causes you the greatest pain?
Expand yourself. Take yourself out your comfort zone. If you stay in your comfort zone, that's where you will fail.
Success is not a comfortable procedure. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable if you ever want to be successful. All the great things in my life, all the great things in other high achievers' lives, all the reasons that these successful people that you look up to, that you aspire to be like, are the way they are, have all come from a place of being uncomfortable.
All successful people, of my experience, are people who are living fully engaged. They are fully involved in their lives and in their goals. They don't do things by half measures. They may have no guarantees, but they're not afraid to put their whole hearts into their activities.
But you're trying to find energy and strength to stay in the fight, to continue on until you get that second wind. The second wind is coming, whenever the second wind may be for you. It's coming.
First and foremost, wake up on time. When that alarm goes off, get your butt out of bed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Why is that important for persistence? The reason why is because the first decision that you're making of the day is to actually get up and get moving.
That hardship and that pain and that struggle and that frustration, they give you the skills that will forge you into a champion.
Develop yourself, weaponize yourself, teach yourself to be so good at something that is necessary to serve in the area of your dream that now you're never even thinking about your comfort zone.
Either you commit to constant growth and feeling discomfort upon your own accord, and you become the master of your own destiny, or you hand over the keys and you let life happen to you by default.
Because there's something in you that tells you this is not it for you. You have not peaked here. There's more in you that you're expressing.
The less you react, the more control you hold. The less you argue, the more dignity you keep. The less you chase, the more you attract. The less you speak from emotion, the more weight your words carry. The less you overcompensate, the more people understand you. Less noise, more impact. Less chatter, more respect. Less explaining, more commanding. Speak less and mean more.
Don't allow your emotions to control you. We are emotional, but you want to begin to discipline your emotion. If you don't discipline and contain your emotions, they will use you. Your mind goes on automatic, just like a god. You know, I loved reading the book called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. He uses the analogy of the mind being like a god. You know, weeds don't have to have any encouragement to grow. But if you want to grow orchids or roses or any kind of exotic flowers, there are special processes and procedures you must go through. Well, by the same token, you don't have to force yourself or motivate yourself to think negatively, to be depressed, to hate somebody, to want revenge, to want to get back at somebody, to beat yourself up over the head, to feel loaded with guilt. You don't have to make any effort to do that. Your mind is on automatic. It will do that by itself. But if you want to begin to move into your own personal greatness, if you want to begin to really enjoy a happy, successful, healthy life, you've got to be willing to go against the tide. You've got to be willing to harness your will and say, in spite of this, I'm in control here. I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm not going to let this destroy me. I'm coming back. And I'll be stronger and better because of it. You have got to make a declaration that this is what you stand for. You're standing up for your dreams. You're standing up for peace of mind. You're standing up for health. You want it, and you're going to go all out to have it.
It's not on everybody else. It's on you. You have to make things happen. Nothing is going to be given to you.
Things to tell yourself in the morning that will reprogram your mind, boost your mood, and help you have a great day. The first one is you need to tell yourself today is going to be a great day, because you can still make it a great day based on your attitude, no matter what it is that's going to happen. And that second sentence is something cool is going to happen for me today. You're probably assuming that something bad's going to happen. No, let's do the opposite. Sentence number 3, no matter what happens today, I can handle it. You are telling your brain to look for the good. You're telling your brain that all that stuff that I normally freak out about, I can handle it.
Keep it right in your head. Keep your thoughts good, not bad. Keep your thoughts decent, not indecent. Keep your thoughts full of faith and not doubt, because it is in your thoughts that is determined whether you will be happy or unhappy, whether you'll be healthy or unhealthy. And he said, the happiest person is he who thinks the happiest, most interesting, finest thoughts. And that is a fact.
Today I was reading a book, and there was a passage that said, once you realize the power of your thoughts, you won't just think anything. Once you realize the power of your words, you won't just say anything. And once you realize the power of your presence, you won't just be anywhere.
Act like the person you want to become. That's not fake it till you make it, by the way. This is intentional. Intentionally act like the person you want to become. Because when you intentionally act like the person you want to become, your brain sees you taking those actions, so your brain starts to change the way it relates to you.
I want to be healthier. I want to be more fit. I want to be more wealthy. I want to be more free. I want to be more in love, whatever it is. The only thing that's stopping you from being any of those things is just a part of your identity that has to change so that you get there. And nothing's mystical about this. If you said, I want to be wealthy, this is your goal, this is your vision, and here you are in lack, the only way you're going to get wealthy is this person's going to have to change a lot to find that wealth, right? So there's nothing mystical about this. We've all done it at some point in our life where we just made up our mind.
Don't walk through the world looking for evidence that you don't belong, because you will always find it.
Yes.
Don't walk through the world looking for evidence that you're not enough, because you'll always find it. Our worth and our belonging are not negotiated with other people. We carry those inside of our hearts. I know who I am. I'm clear about that. And I'm not going to negotiate that with you, because then I may fit in for you, but I no longer belong to myself. And that is a betrayal I'm not willing to do anymore.
Loving yourself is the most powerful thing we can do. Then everything flows. Everything flows beautifully. And I'm not talking about vanity or arrogance, because that is not love. That's always fear. I'm talking about just really respecting and appreciating this incredible, magnificent being that we are.
Every single week, you're going to have heartaches and disappointments and frustrations and setbacks and obstacles, but without those obstacles, no success is possible. You see, the only way we can be successful is if we develop momentum. And we cannot develop the momentum unless we are struggling with obstacles. And struggle with adversity goes hand in hand with all great success. What most people do is they back away from adversity. But if you want to see if you're a brave person, what they call the 4 o'clock in the morning courage, wait when things go completely to pieces, when things are the worst, when your very best deal falls apart and your rent is late and you're tired and you're sick and everybody is mad at you and your car doesn't work, then it's the person that picks themselves up and says, nothing is going to stop me. You know, the best quality in the world that you can develop, and I give it to you, develop the quality of being unstoppable. Say in yourself that no matter what life throws at me, it'll never stop me. No matter how rough it gets, I will never quit, and nothing will ever stop me. Quitting is a habit. If you quit the first time you run into difficulties, you'll always quit when the going gets rough. You will, in effect, establish a pattern for failure rather than a pattern for success.
Go do something. Do the best thing that you can think of. Put the best plan you have into practice. It's not going to be perfect, and it will change along the way. But it will change partly because you become disciplined pursuing the path. And as you become disciplined, you become wiser. And as you become wiser, you become able to formulate better and better plans.
Whenever you try to do something out of the ordinary, people will line up to tell you that you can't do it, why you can't do it, that you lose your time, you lose your money, that you will, in effect, die in the desert. Even people who should know better will try to discourage you. To achieve anything greater worthwhile, you must train yourself to rise above these people, ignoring them and pressing on toward your goal regardless.
Here's a good philosophical phrase. If you hadn't thought of it before, here it is. Everything affects everything else. It's so easy to be casual and say, well, this doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. I'm telling you, everything matters. Of course, some things matter more than others, but there isn't anything that doesn't matter.
Here's a decade plus of business lessons summarized into 60 seconds. Promise late, deliver early, learn fast, trust slow, bet big, test small, give first, ask last, ignore opinions, treasure facts, always promote, never slander, disregard doubters, believe in you, persist always, and stop never.
The heavier the responsibility, the more profound the adventure. And so I've been suggesting to young men in particular, it's like, you want to get your life together? Take the path of maximal responsibility. Not because you should, even though you should. That's not why. It's because that's the pathway of maximal adventure. So you say, well, what's the meaning of life? It's like, it's the meaning that reveals itself when you take the pathway of maximal responsibility. That's exactly the message of the crucifixion. That's precisely the message. Pathway of maximal responsibility. And that's a terrifying thing. There's no difference between that and the dragon and treasure stories that are, unbelievably archaic. The greatest possible treasure is to be found where the danger is most intense.
Right, the dragon guards the gold.
Always.
Right.
Well, and so one thing to know is that if there's a dragon, there's a treasure somewhere. I tell young men, it's like, find something difficult to do. You need that. You're not built for comfort or pleasure. Like, if that comes along, good. If you have a day where you're comfortable and there's some things around you that give pleasure, have some sense and enjoy it. But don't be thinking that's what your life is aimed at. Don't do nothing. That's a big mistake, because all you do is get older and weaker and you withdraw more. Even if you don't know what to do, pursuing nothing is a very bad idea. You have no hope then, because hope comes from pursuit, and you're anxious because you need to specify a path. So you have no hope and you're anxious if you do nothing. Look, you don't know what to do. So why don't we just look and see what other people do that seems to work? Well, let's break your life down. Probably you want an intimate partner. Most people do. Now, you might not, but probably you do, even if you think you don't. And so you might be one of those exceptions, but Don't assume that to begin with, because that's an uncomfortable place to be if it's true. Parents, you want to have a relationship with them. Siblings, children, friends, helpful to have some friends. You should regulate your behavior in relationship to temptations like drug and alcohol abuse and sex. You need a job or a career. You should take care of yourself mentally and physically. You can start with one of those things and move towards it.
Don't join an easy crowd. You won't grow. Go where the expectations are high. Go where the demands are high. Go where the pressure's on to perform, to grow, to change, to develop, to read, to study, to develop skills. The guy says, well, I don't need much. Well, then you don't need to become much.
The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. What do the rich think about? What do the rich dwell upon? What do the rich concentrate on? What do the rich attract to themselves? What is the law of correspondence with regard to the rich? It is the rich are always thinking of production, affluence, money, wealth, and so on. What do the poor think about all the time? Yes, the poor think about poverty, lack, loss, limitation, ill health, how little money they have, and whatever you think about on a continuing basis, you draw into your life and you make into your reality because of this superconscious capability. No matter how big your goals are, no matter how far away they are, if you can hold them in your mind on a continuing basis, you can make them your reality.
Figured out the one piece I was missing. I thought it was cars. I thought it was women. I thought it was money. I thought it was everything. The one piece I was missing was me having the courage to face myself. The second I shut out the whole world and realized that one thing, that I am in this world alone. I'm fighting this race by myself. I was out of this world by myself. It was a race against David Goggins. It wasn't a race against, God, I'm gonna look good for this person or that person. It was me. Do you want to be on your deathbed knowing that you could, but you didn't? And so every day I kept saying that. And before I knew it, 2.5 months later, I lost the weight and I was going to Navy SEAL training. Ability, or I have the ability. I don't have the, I'm not good enough, smart enough. I'm not talented enough to do that. Some people are. Some people can start at 1. Some people don't have to start at all. If you lack talent, you can't sit back and say, I'll start in half an hour. I can't do that. I gotta start now. And after I get back from starting, I gotta start again. And then when I get done with that run or that study session, if it wasn't good enough, I gotta go back again. Because repetition is what taught me everything. So you can honestly outwork anything, but it's that you obviously are a very talented man.
Well, I have worked hard at certain things and built up some things that I've been good at most of my life.
I'd play to my weaknesses. I wouldn't play to my strengths. I play to my weaknesses. Because when you're playing summer basketball, there's so many games. So there's not a lot of skill work being done. So when are you going to get better? Right? When you're playing in competition situations, you're only playing to your strengths. Why? Because you want to win. Right? So what I would do, I was work on the things during those games that I was weak at. Left hand, pull up jump shot, post game. Right? So I have a strategy. And so then fast forward to when I'm 17 and my game is completely well-rounded, and that player at 13 that I saw at 13 is still doing the same shit at 17. Now you got a problem.
The best quality in the world that you can develop, and I give it to you because I made it my life's habit to develop this quality. I hope I've got it, but I don't know for sure. But the quality is to develop the quality of being unstoppable. Develop the quality of being unstoppable. Say in yourself that no matter what life throws at me, it'll never stop me. No matter how rough it gets, I will never quit. And nothing will ever stop me. Make the decision that you can be tired, you can be worn out, but nothing is ever going to stop you.
The thing that I remember the most about my father, and I had him for 32 years, and I never look at it from a negative sense. Obviously, he was murdered, but the thing that I do remember all the time, I think about him practically every day. For a person like myself who live in this spotlight, it's so critical. The thing he's always said, take a pause before you make a decision and say, what if? And the purpose for saying what if is that whatever decision you make, always either going to have consequences. Take a negative and turn it into a positive. Don't be afraid to fail. the best news in today that sells is negative news. And not that I live in a box to where I'm afraid to do things. As my father says, the what if comment is to be able to deal with the consequences of what decisions you make.
This is a pretty important one. Everything changed for me when I realized that we're not meant to feel excited and perfect all the time. I started accepting that where I am right now is where I'm genuinely meant to be. Tough days are all a part of the process. Lean into them. Bad days are also part of a very good and meaningful life. So on my toughest days, I think about getting through one more day, one more workout, one more rep.
For anyone going through hard times, as we are now, having chosen for just keep living from, what else are we going to do, man? What else are we going to do?
When you reach a point in your life where you have that reckoning that if you want your life to turn around, it's your job to do it. If you want to pay off your bills, it's your job to do it. If you want to change where you're at in life, it is your job to change it. And I had wasted way too much time blaming Chris or thinking life was unfair and it was unfair, or beating myself up about the stupid decisions that we had both made, feeling shitty about myself because I couldn't get out of bed, or I knew I was isolating, I was letting my health go, I was drinking too much. Like, I was in that self-sabotaging loop for years. And then finally it's like, okay, you can continue to lay in bed and rot away. You can continue to beat the shit out of yourself. You can continue to tell yourself that it's too late, you screwed up, you're never going to get out of debt, you're never going to figure this out, you're 41, your career is over, you're going to have to get rid of this. Like, you can do all that, Mel. Or you can change. Like, if you want things in your life to get better, prove it. And the person you're proving it to is yourself.
My favorite lesson from Jocko Willink, Navy SEAL guy.
Yeah.
People think that discipline is when you want to do a thing or feel like you're going to do a thing, but doing the thing in spite of not wanting to do the thing is discipline. That is what discipline is.
Yeah.
If you want to do the thing, it doesn't take any discipline to do it. Did it take discipline to eat the cheesecake? No. It took discipline to not eat the cheesecake, because you have to force yourself to do the thing that you do not want to do.
Mm-hmm.
That is what discipline is. He's got the same thing around bravery. It says doing the thing in spite of not wanting to do the thing, in spite of being scared, is what bravery is.
It's hard to make progress when you're constantly getting pulled in different directions. So you have to make a choice, your goals or your distractions. Which one matters more? Turn off the noise? Put the phone down? Close the apps? Give yourself time to focus on what you want to achieve. It's in those quiet moments, away from the noise, that you'll find clarity and direction. You'll be amazed at how much you can accomplish when you're not constantly distracted. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters. Focus on your goals, and the rest will take care of itself. Find your purpose. You need a reason to keep going when things get tough. A purpose gives you direction, something to aim for. Without it, you're just drifting, letting the days pass without any real meaning. But when you find your purpose, everything changes. Suddenly you have a reason to get out of bed, a reason to push through the hard days, a reason to keep fighting. Your purpose doesn't have to be grand or perfect. It just has to matter to you. It's not about what others think or what they want for you. It's about what drives you, what makes you feel alive. When you know your purpose, you stop feeling lost. You have a path, and you know where you're going. Take some time to think about it. What makes you feel fulfilled? What are the things you would fight for no matter how hard it gets? That's your purpose. And once you've found it, hold on to it. Use it to fuel you, to keep you moving forward when everything else tells you to quit. With purpose, you find strength you didn't know you had. It's like a light in the darkness, guiding you through the toughest moments. And it doesn't matter how many times you fall when you have a purpose, you'll always get back up. So don't settle for a life without meaning. Find your purpose and let it be your reason to keep going. From planning to action, this is where most people get stuck. It's easy to dream, easy to make plans, easy to write down your goals. But the real challenge starts when you have to turn those plans into reality. It's the hardest step because it means you have to put in the work day in and day out without any guarantees. Action is what separates the dreamers from the doers. It's where you find out if you're serious about your goals or just pretending. Anyone can make a plan, but not everyone will put in the effort to see it through. It's not enough to just know what you want. You have to be willing to do whatever it takes to get there. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. It doesn't exist. The only time you have is now. Take the first step, no matter how small. Even if it feels like you're stumbling in the dark, keep moving.
Vulnerability itself is absolutely essential for growth. So our vulnerability is our capacity to be wounded. The reality is that as human beings, we're all vulnerable from conception until death. But when we're hurt in childhood and the vulnerability is too painful to bear, we will try and shut down our vulnerability. And for example, by being right. Because if I'm right, then I'm powerful and I can't be assailed anymore. But when we do that, we stop growing. So vulnerability is absolutely essential for growth. And for vulnerability, you gotta let go of those defenses, such as being right, that you developed as a child in order to protect yourself from the pain. So that's why we talk about growing pains, because vulnerability is necessary for growth. Without vulnerability, there is no growth. Where does depression come from? Depression comes from having had to push down your emotions. So why did you have to push down your emotions? To stay connected to your parents. In other words, it was a coping mechanism. And what I'm saying is, that a lot of illness, whether of the mind or the body or both, comes from coping mechanisms. There are normal coping mechanisms in response to an abnormal situation. It's not normal for a child to be banished from the presence of the parent. If you look at indigenous people, they carry their kids everywhere. Kids are always with their parents.
Can you go too far with empathy? And yes, it is possible. A lot of people who get involved with toxic personalities, they feel for them because toxic people don't announce themselves. They don't go, I'm aggressive, I'm a narcissist, I'm grandiose. They're very clever, they're very charming. They can be very seductive and interesting when you first meet them. And you feel empathy for them. They have some pain in their life and you can sense it and you open up to them. And then they prey on that openness. They prey on your ability that you've opened up too much to them. You become too vulnerable. You empathize too much to the point where you can't distance yourself.
Let me give y'all some gems. I'm better than this moment. It will pass. I love myself at and in every evolution, both beneficial and non-beneficial, good, bad, or indifferent. I honor myself for operating in the fullness that I could at that time and at that space. I'm proud of myself for the bravery to grow. I'm proud of myself for finding tools and figuring this shit out. I will give myself grace to figure it out, grace to stumble, grace to pause. I highlight and I cancel. This is my favorite. I highlight and I cancel all contracts and agreements that don't serve me for my highest good. And I give myself permission to evolve as often as I need to, in any way that I need to, without explanation.
The happiest people, they do 4 things every day, okay? They practice their faith, they are close to their families, they have friends, real friends, not deal friends, real friends. and they take their work seriously, which is of course your bailiwick. This is your kettle of fish. And they get meaning from their work, which really comes from feeling like they're earning their success, creating value, and serving other people. Those 4 things are the secrets to the happiest life.
If I were to choose to live my life over again, I wouldn't live it in this way. Do you know Winnie the Pooh?
Yeah.
The end of that book would bring tears to my eyes for years. Christopher Robin, a little boy now, has to go to school. And he's telling his friends, the toy animals, that he won't be able to play with them so much anymore. And what I wasn't aware of when I went to medical school and when I was a physician is how driven I was to justify my existence in the world. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. When you're driven to work too hard, you actually ignore what matters. And what matters is what you were telling me last night about how much it matters for you to spend time with your family. So every summer, you take a bunch of weeks away from your podcast and you just spend time enjoying your kids and your wife and your family. And I didn't do that. I always felt I had to keep working. And the book ends with the statement, and whatever they do or wherever they go in the enchanted forest, the little boy and his bear will always be playing together. And that phrase would bring tears to my eyes for years. Because play is so important. And joy is so important. And that's what these people are talking about. People sacrifice their playfulness, their joyfulness, for the sake of being accepted and being successful and all that. It's a huge one. Being driven by unconscious needs to validate your existence. And where does that come from? Again, that comes from childhood trauma. In that sense, we can all be Winnie the Pooh and Christopher Robin. We can always keep playing in the enchanted forest. And that's just essential, I think.
You are what you think about. Everything that you think about, you become. You become what you think about. Thoughts lead to actions. Actions lead to behaviors. Behaviors leads to lifestyle. Lifestyle determines your destiny. So everything begins in the mind.
This is a 67-year-old device. At no time should you overvalue your own thoughts. You should allow yourself to be humbled daily with new ideas that challenge any or everything that you currently think. That's wisdom, I think.
How do I know who I am if I don't have content?
Maybe you only are who you are on your deathbed, because then you would have completed your life. You're still you're work in progress.
What makes you itch? What sort of a situation would you like? Let's suppose, I do this often in vocational guidance of students. They come to me and say, well, we're getting out of college and we haven't the faintest idea what we want to do. So I always ask the question, what would you like to do if money were no object? How would you really enjoy spending your life? Well, it's so amazing. As a result of our kind of educational system, crowds of students say, well, we'd like to be painters, we'd like to be poets, we'd like to be writers, but as everybody knows, you can't earn any money that way. Or another person says, well, I'd like to live an out-of-doors life and ride horses. I say, do you want to teach in a riding school? Let's go through with it. What do you want to do? When we finally got down to something which the individual says he really wants to do, I will say to him, you do that. And forget the money. Because if you say that getting the money is the most important thing, you will spend your life completely wasting your time. You'll be doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living, that is, to go on doing things you don't like doing, which is stupid. Better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way. And after all, if you do really like what you're doing, it doesn't matter what it is, you can eventually turn it, you could eventually become a master of it. It's the only way to become a master of something, to be really with it. And then you'll be able to get a good fee for whatever it is. So don't worry too much. Somebody's interested in everything. And anything you can be interested in, you'll find others for. But it's absolutely stupid to spend your time doing things you don't like in order to go on spending things you don't like, doing things you don't like, and to teach your children to follow in the same track. See, what we're doing is we're bringing up children and educating to live the same sort of lives we're living, in order that they may justify themselves and find satisfaction in life by bringing up their children, to bring up their children to do the same thing, so it's all wretch and no vomit. It never gets there. And so, therefore, it's so important to consider this question: what do I desire?
What I try to do is just try to be still and understand that things come and go, emotions come and go. The important thing is to accept them all, to embrace them all, and then you can choose to do with them what you want versus being controlled by emotion. A lot of times I've seen players, even myself, and when I was younger, being consumed by a particular fear, and to the point where you're saying, okay, nah, it's not good to feel fear. I shouldn't be nervous in the situation. And it does nothing but grow. Versus stepping back and saying, yeah, I am nervous about the situation. Yeah, I am fearful about the situation. Well, what am I afraid of? And then you kind of unpack it. And then it gives you the ability to look at it for really what it is, which is nothing more than your imagination running its course.
There's a question that I ask, and I'll ask it to you. And the answer to this question could change your life. You ready?
You're set the stage pretty well, yes.
Are you lucky? The answer to this question will dictate the kind of luck you have. If you feel that you're unlucky, life is going to be stickier and you're going to be looking for missed opportunities. Unlucky people, they sound a very particular way. They sound like this. First, coffee machine, broken. Second, just hit every red light all the way to work. Then, can't believe, right? Like, it's that narrative, but with everything. With their morning, with their dates, with their love life, with their careers. That unluckiness is causing all this stuckness. And when I ask them, do you feel you are where you want to be in your life? They always say no. And then I ask them, what is stopping you? And it's never them. Now, lucky people, by the way, I ask, do you feel stuck? Some of them do. But then when I ask them, what's stopping you? A lot of the times they say, me. Myself, my productivity. I gotta get over this thing that I'm having. I've been really procrastinating. Not always, but I've noticed that there's something there. And so to begin to think about, how do you answer that question? Do you feel stuck? And who's in the way? Is it you or is it someone else or is it something else?
The single greatest razor that I have for defining reality more accurately has been removing all sentiment, emotion, and quote psychology from the equation and only looking at it from behaviorist frame of what can I observe.
The law of sowing and reaping. It says, whatever you sow, you shall reap. Here's the fourth key to sowing and reaping, and that key word is anyone. Anyone can sow and reap. Now the question is whether or not you will. Mr. Keogh says, try my plan. I put it together. The Keogh plan. Put aside $145 a month for the next 30 years. It's $1 million with the tax advantages. Not a bad plan. Become a millionaire. Now anybody can. The question is, who will? Son asked his father when his father's 50, we're rich, right? His father said, no, we're not rich. His son says, well, the Keogh thing, the $145 a month Keogh thing. He says, yeah, I know the Keogh thing, but I didn't go for that. I picked another plan. So what'd you do with the 145? Said, well, I bought beer and cigarettes. But see, anybody, if you want to, can go searching for a good plan, pick it, and start working it. And sure enough, as the time passes, as it surely will, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, then you'll be winding up wearing what you want to wear, driving what you want to drive, living where you want to live, become what you want to become. But now's the time to fix the next 10 years.
Chris Eubank Jr. said to me, which really stuck with me. He said, if I'm running on a treadmill and I get to mile 9 and I get complete cramp in one of my legs, and I know I've told myself I'm going to run 10 kilometers today, he goes, I will have to limp the last mile, even if no one's watching, because I can't let the demons in. And if I let the demons in, they'll show up in the 11th round of a championship fight when there's 50,000 people watching me in the audience, and I know deep in my self-story that I'm the type of person that quits when things get hard because I got off that treadmill at mile 9 when no one was watching. It would modify my self-story. The commitments we keep to ourselves and what we do when no one's watching is the most persuasive evidence that governs everything we then do every day thereafter.
Well, but don't be mad. You're laying there in your fucking bed, and you're in the fucking hospital, and you're 70, 80, 90 years old, and you're thinking, man, I feel like I didn't fucking do something. Because you did. You didn't do it. You didn't do shit. Man, you lived a great life, man, but you're always gonna feel empty inside. That time of year again, we start to feel real happy. You celebrate Christmas, you're looking forward to Santa Claus coming down the chimney, giving you some presents. It's a real good time of year, so in that good time of year, we start to feel real good about ourselves. So we start making promises to ourselves about, hey, I'm gonna lose some weight, I'm gonna do better in school, I'm gonna be better here, be better there. But guess what happens? The real Merry fucking Christmas happens when all of that noise is gone, it's quiet, and it's you against you, and now all those endorphins are gone. And I promise you made about getting up early and getting after it to go lose weight, study harder, guess what? It's a lot fucking harder now. That repetition becomes a lot harder now. So a lot of us can't do things on our own. So find somebody in your life. So when you throw that towel in, they throw that motherfucker back at you and say you're not fucking done yet. Stay true to yourself, stay hard.
You have the power to do more than you can ever begin to imagine. Don't underestimate yourself. You don't know enough about yourself to become a cynic. And so you've got to challenge yourself to access that power that you have within you. You're more than a conqueror.
You are a much more interesting person than you give credit for, because you're trying to act, trying to fit into the group and be what other people want you to be. Yeah. And you know, we all want the power to change ourselves, right? That's why self-help books do so well. Yeah. But you can't begin to change yourself in any meaningful way until you confront who you really are. You know, if you go out in public and you don't look in a mirror, your hair you're gonna look really weird, right? You can't begin to improve your looks until you look in the mirror. You can't begin to change yourself until you look into that mirror of who you really are. All that other stuff that you don't want to confront.
Most of us, we live in a box, and we don't want to go outside that box at all, ever. Outside that box is all these possibilities of life. I now know that there is no cap on the human mind. There's no cap. We cap it ourselves.
In the biblical stories, Abraham basically hangs around his dad's tent till he's like 80. He's one of these guys that fails to launch, in a big way. God eventually gets sick and tired of him and says, get the hell out there into the world and have a life. And so he does. He leaves his father's tent and his community and his country. And then he goes out and has an adventure. But, the first thing he encounters is a famine, and then he encounters a tyranny, and then he encounters a bunch of people in the tyrannical state that want to take his wife. And so you can imagine that Abraham's response to that is it was a hell of a lot better sitting in my dad's tent playing video games games. But what's cool about that story, what I realized was that that was a call to adventure. People need a load, and we need adversity, and we need difficulty. We need all of that. Dostoevsky knew this because when he wrote Notes from Underground, what Dostoevsky said was that, well, human beings are these very peculiar creatures, and if you gave us a utopia so that we had nothing to do but eat cake and busy ourselves with the continuation of the species, that the first thing we do is smash it all to bits just so that something unexpected and troublesome would happen, because we're built for adventure and not for peace and happiness. One of the things that's really freeing to understand is that you're screwed no matter what you do. There's no secure path forward. Give it up. It's risk everywhere, except for two things. You can pick your risk. That's the first thing. So you get to pick your poison. That's something. And second, you're a lot tougher than you think. So even though there's risk everywhere, if you confront it forthrightly, what you'll find is that you can actually handle the risk. Well, you should be afraid of taking risks and pursuing something meaningful. But you should be more afraid of staying where you are if it's making you miserable. It's like you're paying a price by sitting there being miserable. You might say, well, the devil I know is better than the one I don't. It's like, don't be so sure of that. The clock is ticking. Yeah, and if you're miserable in your job now and you change nothing, in 5 years, you'll be much more miserable and you'll be a lot older. So I'm telling young people, look, no matter how bad your situation is, I'm not going to pretend it's okay. It's not okay. It's tragic, tainted with malevolence. And some people really get hurt by malevolent people, like, terribly hurt. Sometimes they never recover. It's really awful. But there's more to you than you think. And if you stand up and face it with a positive, with a noble vision, with discipline and intent, you can go far farther to overcoming it than you could imagine.
If you stay in your comfort zone, that's where you will fail. You will fail in your comfort zone. Success is not a comfortable procedure. It is a very uncomfortable thing to attempt. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable if you ever want to be successful.
It's either you have it or you don't. That sounds like excuses to me. I mean, you got to figure it out. If you really have an obsession to figure it out, you will figure it out. Every puzzle is constructed differently. Everybody has a different puzzle, man. You just got to figure out your own puzzle.
I don't know how to start improving my life. Someone might say that. And I would say, well, you're not aiming low enough. There's something you could do that you are regarding as trivial, that you could do, that you would do, that would result in an actual improvement. But it's not a big enough improvement for you, so you won't lower yourself enough to take the opportunity. Yeah. You don't go and, like, if you haven't bench pressed before, you don't put 400 pounds on the bar and drop the bar through your skull. Aim low. And I don't mean don't aim, and I don't mean don't aim up. So a small step today puts you in a position to take a slightly bigger step the next day. And then that puts you in a position to take a slightly bigger step the next day. And you do that for 2 or 3 years, man, you're starting to stride.
You can't handle the big challenges in life unless you take on the little ones. Make a list of all the things you can do. Get right on those. Discipline yourself for those, both for the results and for the muscle and for the practice. So that when life hands you some big challenges, you'll be ready, you'll have the muscle.
Give any fraction of self-discipline the ability to not want to do it, but still do it. That's the most powerful thing in the world.
I don't care how good you are in anything, you don't have discipline, you ain't nobody. Right. Ain't nothing without discipline, because you give up on the slightest struggle without discipline. Discipline is doing what you hate to do, but do it like you love it.
Ask yourself what's holding you back, and usually it's the quality of self-discipline or it's a skill. Now, one of the things that changed my life forever was when I learned that all business skills are learnable. You don't have to be a genius to learn any business skill. You can learn any form of technology. You can take a person who's basically shoe polished and teach them how to be technologically superior enough to earn a living from it. And so I say, what one skill, if you are absolutely excellent at it in your business, would help you the most to double your income? What one business skill?
A lot of people are afraid of failure, and so they never try anything in life. They never attempt that project. They never write that book. They never start that podcast because they're afraid that if they do, they're going to fail. And failing is a worse feeling than actually just kind of withdrawing from the world. Yeah. So you have to now force yourself. It's not easy to actually try and execute all those projects that are in your mind. Yeah. But you have to do it with baby steps. You have to try something small first, and overcome your fear of failure.
You're not going to score on every shot.
Right.
Doesn't mean you shouldn't take the shots. Doesn't mean you shouldn't try to hit the goal. But part of being able to continue to take shots is to have the strength of character to tolerate the fact that in that instance, you weren't on top.
You fall, and you're probably going to fall. You just get back up. Once you get up from laying in the gutter, whatever your gutter is, for months and weeks and years at a time, when you get up, that doesn't mean you're never going to fall back down again. What it means is you got up the one time, it means you can get up the next time, and the next time, and the next time. And you keep getting up until you don't fall anymore. Okay? So you be patient, you be consistent, and don't quit. Don't quit.
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can...
Passion when you're 300 pounds. Where's the motivation when you can't read and write? Where is it? So how did this happen? I just fucking did. I just did. I said, maybe at the end of this journey, there'll be something there for me. If not, I can read. All those words are overused. They're bullshit. It's all bullshit. Just do. You're living. How do you want to live? How do you want to die? How do you want to fucking be remembered? That's it.
Why would you not go for it? Why would you not take a chance? At one point in time, you got to take a chance on you.
Michael Jordan, remember I interviewed him years ago, and I said, what makes you the best in the world? Is it skill? Is it talent? Is it ability? Is it background? Is it training? He said, I didn't even make the high school basketball team my sophomore year. I was cut. He said, what it is every day I demand more from myself than anybody else could possibly expect. I don't compete with other people. I compete with what I'm capable of. And it's just like, that kind of standard is inspiring.
You should back yourself, even if you're at the start of your journey. Vincent van Gogh said, if I'm worth anything later, I'm worth something now, for wheat is wheat, even if people think it is grass in the beginning.
Do not ever allow anyone and anything put you in a conceptual box. There is no, you must become this or you must become that. You can become everything, as long as the mind is free and it's not preoccupied with any ideas of the parents, of the government, of the society, of the advertising, of the propaganda, of anything like this. There are just institutions and systems existing in this world right now. They are not made to make you bigger. Absolutely. They are made to keep you small.
I have an insane belief in my own ability to manifest things. Insane belief. I think it's ultimately complete sanity. I believe we're creators, and I believe we create with every thought and every word. Every moment is pregnant with the next moment of your life. We all start out with a false belief about ourselves, with some untrue thing that we believe walking through our lives. I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, I'm gonna fail. Whatever your basic mistaken belief about yourself is, you form a personality around. You know, it's the grain of sand in the oyster. So I form characters that way a lot of times. I'll ask myself, what's the speck of sand?
But if you want to see if you're a brave person, what they call the 4 o'clock in the morning courage, wait when things go completely to pieces, when things are the worst, when your very best deal falls apart and your rent is late and you're tired and you're sick and everybody is mad at you and your car doesn't work, then it's the person that picks themselves up and says, nothing is going to stop me. You know, the best quality in the world that you can develop is to develop the quality of being unstoppable. Develop the quality of being unstoppable. Say in yourself that no matter what life throws at me, it'll never stop me. No matter how rough it gets, I will never quit. And nothing will ever stop me. And believe me, if you decide to go for the goal in your life, you're going to get knocked down over and over and over and over again. But without those obstacles, no success is possible. Make the decision that you can be tired, you can be worn out, but nothing is ever going to stop you. Give it your best shot. It's the basis of self-esteem.
Evolution never updated the software. It just repurposed it. Your ancestors needed courage to keep their bodies alive. You need courage to keep your identity intact. It's almost comic when you zoom out. Right. The same species that once stared down hungry predators now breaks into a sweat, trying to say something needs to change.
Just don't give up. Just don't give up, even if right now it doesn't make sense. One day, I'm very, very sure, when you start to see the connections and things fall into place, you will maybe also realize that it couldn't have been different. Even if it's difficult. But the only thing that I learned from the martial art practices and also from my own life is giving up was just simply not a question, was simply never an option. The winners continue where the losers stop. People know these type of sentences. It depends what means for you winner. In the way how I look at the world, it's about constantly developing yourself, not standing still. Making a mistake is not a problem. Making the same mistake without learning from the first one, that's a problem.
That's the thing about being alone. It's not that you feel like you don't have anybody. It's like you feel like nobody has you. And man, and I know especially when we're young, that's so, we can't even put it into words, but we can feel that. And I remember a lot as a child feeling that way. You know, just feeling like nobody has me. Nobody has me.
Comparison's natural.
Yeah.
It's what you do with the comparison that matters.
Absolutely.
Most of my life, I would see somebody doing something or they had achieved something I wanted, and I was like, well, there you go, never gonna happen for me. I was using the example of somebody else's life as a way to tell me that my dreams are not gonna happen.
Instead of saying it's happened for them means it's possible that it can also happen for me.
Yes. And the friends, by the way, that really upset you are super important because you can look at people that you admire, but a lot of the time they don't galvanize this pain inside of you to actually do something about it. When it's a friend and you know there's no secret sauce or trust fund or anything that gave them a special advantage and they just work their tail off and you start getting upset about that, the reason why you're upset is you're not upset at your friend. You're upset at yourself
yes.
because you gave up on yourself. And that anger is important because it is a signal from your body that I want that.
You take this orange and you squeeze it as hard as you can squeeze it. And you ask yourself, what will come out? And what comes out when you squeeze an orange? Orange juice. Never, no matter how many times you squeeze it, will apple juice come out. And the next question is why? Why when you squeeze an orange as hard as you can squeeze it, does orange juice come out? The reason that orange juice comes out when you squeeze it is because that's what's inside. Now you extend the metaphor and someone squeezes you. That is, someone says something about you that you don't like. Someone behaves towards you in a way that you find offensive. And out of you comes anger, hatred, bitterness, tension, fear, anxiety, stress. And immediately you say, the reason that comes out of me is because of how he said it, or the way that she said that, or because they did that. But the truth is, the reality is that what comes out is what's inside. And if you don't like what's inside, you can change it.
How did you do this?
Because there's no hate in my heart. Like, I want to see everybody win.
Even if somebody does you wrong?
Absolutely. Because him doing me wrong is probably, like, this is the thing, right? Oftentimes, our egos play such a role in our lives that we don't realize, like, some people have actions or they make certain actions for whatever specific reason for their destiny. Like, I don't look at it like somebody's actually doing me wrong. Because if he does me wrong, that's a route that's something he has to deal with. Because that karma comes back to that man.
Wait, but how did you have that? Like, you don't get petty?
Nah, for what? Like, why? It's because, listen, that energy slows me down for what I gotta do. Like, I'm not gonna ever let nobody else come and affect my energy. Like, I have a specific realm around me that nobody disrupts, like nobody.
Damn.
And that's the only way you can move, because everyone's always gonna bring a level of negativity to you.
Right.
And but at the end of the day, they come with positivity because they want to be able to, appease whatever their agenda is.
Right.
Once you can identify that person's agenda, then it's kind of smooth sailing because you already know what they want from you, right? Because we all use each other to an extent.
Sure.
But no one just admits that they're using you, right?
Right.
You understand?
Yeah.
So it's up to you to figure out, okay, what it is that they want from me.
Humans are really good at smelling out people who are hypocritical, who pretend to be all holier than thou, saintly, and they're not. And it's a put-off. We're attracted to people who are authentic. We feel that person may not be a saint, but they're really who they are. We see that in our culture. We're attracted to people who are not disguising. They show their dark side and their good side. It's very positive, kind of an attractive quality. I'm not trying to weigh you down with making you feel, oh, I'm such a miserable worm. You might be a worm, but it's better to admit that you're a worm and to kind of move from that. People will smell that on you. They'll smell that you're being more honest and being more who you really are.
One of your quotes is, when you're winning, you're not as good as you think you are. When you're losing, you're not as bad as you think you are. What's that mean to you?
When you're winning, everybody's telling you how amazing you are. You're the best. You're amazing. You know, you're just better than that guy, and you're better than this guy. And it always takes me back to that quote of Marcus Aurelius, who had a slave that would sit behind him and always whisper to him, hey,
you're just a man.
You're just a man.
You're just a man.
That's right, 40 laws of power.
What makes people stupid, and right now we have a lot of stupid people in this world. There always have been stupid people, but because there are more people on the planet, exponentially there are more stupid people on the planet. What makes people stupid, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to tell it like it is their certainty that they have all the answers. This is what's going on with our government. This is what's wrong, with this or that. This is what people should be like, blah, 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 blah. So you're narrowing your focus to this little tiny little rail, something that you heard from somebody else. It's not even your own stupid idea. You've absorbed it on the internet, whatever, and you're going down on this kind of monorail path. Meanwhile, the world is all around you and you're just going like zoom like that because you're so certain you have the answer.
The first step you have to do is say, what in my life will I not tolerate anymore that I'm fed up with, that I don't want? Is it your crappy car? Is it your crappy residence? Is it your crappy clothes? Is it your crappy bank account balance? Is it the fact that your credit cards are all maxed out?
Okay.
What in your life are you fed up with? You need to get some pain in order to get you to move. There's a story about the fella who's having an iced tea in the South on the porch, and it's an old wooden porch, and his old hound dog is lying down there, and the hound dog every once in a while did this, went ooh, and went back. A couple minutes later, ooh, went back again. A couple minutes later, ooh, and the fella says, hey, what's wrong with your dog? And the guy says, oh, he's sleeping on a nail. And the guy goes, well, why won't he move? He goes, well, it doesn't hurt him that much. Right? Moving is
I have been that dog, Kevin.
Moving
I've been that dog.
Yeah, moving is more painful to the dog than the nail. So here's the point. You need to have a nail that is so painful, it gets you to move. You need to be fed up with something. That's step one. Number two, what exactly do you want? Now that you know what you don't want, tell me exactly what you do want. What exactly do you need to have that you absolutely must have? And if you don't have that desire, that burning desire for something, you're never going to get it. So you have to have a burning desire for something. Next, see yourself in possession of it and feel now as if you were in possession of it. See yourself in possession and feel now as if you were in possession of it. And the next step is release attachment to the outcome. Say, but if it never happens, it's perfectly okay. And maintain that same feeling. That's the point.
Start every morning, write 10 things that you're grateful for. Send love to 3 people who bother you. Be quiet for 5 minutes and ask for guidance for the day. It's a winning formula.
A few months ago, after knowing Eckhart Tolle for a while and studying the books, I woke up and I suddenly got it. How thought was just an illusory thing. And how thought is responsible for, if not all, most of the suffering we experience. And then I suddenly felt like I was looking at these thoughts from another perspective. And I wondered, who is it that's aware that I'm thinking? And suddenly I was thrown into this expansive, amazing feeling of freedom from myself, from my problems. I saw that I was bigger than what I do. I was bigger than my body. I was everything and everyone. I was no longer a fragment of the universe. I was the universe. And ever since that day, I've been trying to get back there. It comes and it goes. It's like riding a wave. Sometimes I'm on, sometimes I'm off. But at least I know where I want to go. And that I want to take as many people with me as I possibly can, because the feeling is amazing.
Most people want to give when it's easy. That won't make you grow. I fed 2 families when I had no money. I did 4, and then 8. I've been doing this since I was 17. If you won't give a dime out of $1, you're not going to get $1 million out of 10 or 100 million out of $1 billion. There's no time to wait. If you really want your life to change, if you really want the breakthrough, find someone who needs it more and give. And I can promise you, you will receive at levels beyond anything you could ever imagine. Whatever you think your greatest dream is, the life you'll create if you'll be a giver it'll make your greatest dream look like a cartoon.
We repeat what we don't understand. So long as we're unaware of the stories that we've grown up with, we will enact them in our adult lives. I think a lot of us have a desire to give the stories of our childhood a different ending. Our father might have been a distant and, mean-spirited creature, but also had some good qualities. The dream is to find somebody a bit like that, but to make sure that the story has a good resolution. It's not merely a desire to repeat, it's a desire to repeat and give a better ending. But frequently, we don't get there. We see all around us people doing so-called crazy things. And we think we can step back and go, why are they doing that stuff? What's going on? Now, one way to look at it, and it's a kind of compassionate way to look at it, a lot of the stuff that looks crazy now once made a lot of sense. It was once probably a really clever thing to do. If you were growing up, let's say, in an environment in which a parent was suicidal, and you shut down your emotions totally and decided you would never trust anyone, that's a fantastically clever thing to do when you're 5 years old and you've got a suicidal parent, right? Because that will get you through to the next stage of life.
Which do you think is more important? More positive thinking or less negative thinking? And the studies are unequivocal. It's less negative thinking.
Really?
About 70% of our negative thinking goes unperceived by us. It is so embedded in our day-to-day behavior.
We're not even aware of it.
We're not even aware of it. Positive thinking is important. And keep it up. Keep it high. But if you want to get your real knowledge, just cut down on the negative thinking. Cut it down, cut it down, cut it down. That's the villain voice. That's the critic in your head. That's the demotivator. That's the discounter. That's the one that raises the doubts. And you can shut it up.
What I found was this, is that the existence of just one negative emotion that you will not let go of for whatever reason, and the reason is always an ego reason, the reason it always has to do with your own ego, will cause you to stay in the same place and spin your wheels and go in circles for the rest of your life. But you all know people who are talented, who have opportunities, good educations, and so on and so forth, and their life just goes around in circles. They just seem to be spinning. They've got everything going for them, and they just continually have problems. Why is it? Almost invariably, and this is what all psychoanalysis does, all psychotherapy, is they've got one negative emotion locked on, and the negative emotion they have locked on is blame. There is somebody that they are still blaming for something. There's somebody that they are not going to let off the hook because that son of a gun did something to them. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about, because we're all in the same boat. We're all human beings. The reason this makes sense to you and I is because we do have a tendency to fall in love with our suffering. We do have a tendency to gunny sack and to think that part of our humanity is all these negative emotions. We do have a tendency to see that other people are responsible. Other people have hurt us. They did cost us money. They did hurt us in a relationship. But the key to peak performance, the key to happiness, the key to success is to use the law of substitution and knock those negative emotions out of the box. By the very first time you think of anything that causes you any stress, you say, I am responsible. Wait a minute, I am responsible. I am responsible. I am responsible. I like myself and I am responsible. I like myself and I am responsible. And nothing outside of me is going to disrupt my peace of mind. I am in charge of my emotional life. I am responsible. You are responsible.
The reason why a lot of people won't become who they want is because they're too attached to who they've been. And you hear it all the time when people say, I've always been this way. Okay, well, if that's working for you, keep doing that. I knew it wasn't working for me any longer. I had hit my version of rock bottom. So I was willing to let go of everything and everybody. Another reason why people won't get there is because the doorway is for you to fit through. You trying to carry everybody else through, and you got to rescue you first. I am much more valuable to my family and to my community because I was willing to let them go through the door myself, teach myself, learn myself, condition myself, and then come back and get them. I'm much more valuable to them now.
Stoicism obviously places a lot of emphasis on differentiating between these two things. Letting go of what's not ours and, really cultivating and strengthening what is. And there's plenty of iterations. One of my favorites and one of the most common, most well-known is the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. It's that idea that you have within you a superpower, but you have to stop looking outside, right, and pointing at the sky for stuff that's just not yours, right?
People change in 4 different seasons. People change when they hurt enough they have to, when they see enough they're inspired to, when they learn enough that they want to, and when they receive enough that they're able to. Those are the 4 times that people change.
Well, if you took on all the responsibility you could take on, and you faced everything that you needed to face, what would you be like? Who would you be? And how would the world transform around you? If the partial answer is, well, if I do that a little bit, things get a fair bit better, then the next question might be, well, what if you did that completely? It isn't obvious to me what the upper limit of that is. And when you see people bear their suffering nobly, there's nothing in that but good. That's something. And then when you see people take on more responsibility and decide that they're going to aim up and confront their suffering honestly and forthrightly, that their lives get better and the lives of people around them get better too. The pathway to less suffering is through suffering. It's like, well, there's suffering. How do you make it worse? Run away. How do you make it better? Confront it. Yeah, but it's suffering. It's like, yeah, but it's there. It's a precondition for existence or something like that. And it's like you have something important to do as well. And you confront it, and that's the pathway to transcending it.
The man who refuses to surrender begins to see that defeat is only a form of transformation. Every pain that tried to break him was not his enemy. It was the sculptor. Every betrayal, every failure, every humiliation was carving away the parts of him that were never real. He thought the world was taking from him, when in truth, it was giving him form. Most men live as if they are holding their breath, terrified of the collapse. They build their lives on comfort, on validation, on the illusion of control. But the one who refuses to give up has already lost all of that. He has nothing left to protect. And that is precisely why he becomes powerful. The man who is not afraid to be broken can never truly be defeated.
The only thing you have in a complex situation is the truth. That's all you have. That's why you have to abide by the truth, because when things get complex around you, how do I deal with this politically? How do I deal with this personally? What do I say in this terribly complex situation? All you have there that's solid ground is the truth. And one of the things to reflect upon in relationship to that is that's also why you have to live honestly, because it's very hard to tell the truth if you're simultaneously worried that the evidence of your past misbehavior, your past deceitful misbehavior is going to come to light. And so the reason you abide by the truth is so that you can say what you have to say about what you've done and who you are. And you can do that under impossibly difficult circumstances. And possibly that will sustain you through that in circumstances where if that's not possible, you're just going to get crushed.
There's nothing that makes you more formidable than verbal competence and being able to articulate, be able to think, to marshal your arguments, right? It's a battlefield metaphor. Get everything in order, get all your information straight to marshal your forces. You go to war with words. That's what young men should be taught. There we go.
Bit of fury.
Here's what most people miss. Environment is stronger than willpower. You could be motivated, disciplined, and driven, but if you constantly surround yourself with people who are lazy, negative, and small-minded, they will eventually pull you down. Their doubts will become your doubts. Their limits will become your limits. Their vision will shrink your vision. Mediocrity is contagious. But so is excellence. When you walk with people who live with discipline, who think bigger, who act bolder, their energy rubs off on you. Their habits shape you. Their mindset elevates yours. Spend enough time with people who are growing, and growth becomes natural. Spend enough time with people who are stagnant, and stagnation becomes normal. I learned this lesson the hard way. Early in my life, I spent too much time with those who had no hunger, no vision, no commitment. And you know what happened? I picked up their habit.
I was able to witness you live your life that way, and I think I'm starting to grasp the letting go.
So you connect the dots now for yourself, and then it's that butterfly effect, right? There's so many versions of ourselves. So there's a version of me, depressed, living in my parents' basement in my 20s, and I probably go on the wrong path and ended up somewhere else in my life. There's a version of me where I didn't take my relationship seriously. I didn't drive all the way to Montreal to visit my wife now, but girlfriend at the time. I never put that into my reality, and maybe I said, oh, it's too far, it's not worth it. So now that version of me is doing something else. That version of me is like, I don't want to get into this industry, it's too hard, it's hard work, I don't want to do a video production. And so there's a version of me doing something else. So the point where I'm trying to say is I stuck to my lane, I stuck to what my vision was, and it was clear enough for me where things start appearing for me to take action. It still had to take action. Right? Things didn't just land in my lap. You still have to meet something halfway for it to come towards you as well, right? You have to take the steps towards something that you're pursuing. And every day we wake up, we have a chance to choose which direction we're gonna go. But I chose the one that felt more comfortable for me, or it was like in my decision making, so I stuck to that.
The first million is hard, but the second million is inevitable. The reason for that is this, it's not, as Jim Rohn used to say, he said, it's not becoming a millionaire that's important, it's the person that you must become in order to become a millionaire. Yeah. You have to become a completely different person. You have to develop character beyond 99% of the people in the world. You have to develop honesty and discipline and quality relationships and the willingness and the ability to work and set priorities and all kinds of stuff, because without that, nothing is possible.
Most successful people have developed an attitude of confidently expecting good things to happen. It's called the attitude of positive self-expectancy. It is the attitude of the winner. The winner looks for good things to happen. The winner expects to win in advance, and lo and behold, whatever you expect with confidence tends to come true, even if the information upon which your expectations is based is totally false.